Hello, Corinne. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Welcome to the Finance Geek space. This is your official first debut on the channel, so I'm happy to have you here. Although we've done some work together offline with my clients, with my audience in the background, and we put a wonderful workshop together, multiple days, lots of entry-level beginner information to get people interested, get people educated in the crypto space for them to add it to their financial portfolio for wealth building, generational wealth building, and just understanding all of the potential mistakes people make and how to protect yourself and how to build a well-structured, balanced portfolio as it pertains to crypto. In this video today, we're going to be really diving into just crypto news, updates, what's going on, what's happened, where are we headed from your perspective. And I believe that's just going to be really, really helpful for those that are already in the crypto space. So if you're watching this, we're already assuming that you know a thing or two about crypto, you've got your exchange set up, you've done the preliminary pregame work. And if you're brand new, brand new, one of the action steps we're really going to want you to do is go check out that workshop that we did. It's completely free. You just need to sign up, and there'll be a link below for you to engage with us, go through that entire workshop. And if you want to have a one-to-one with Corinne or myself, we have those options available inside that completely free course that you can, go through, get started, really build. And then if you want to take it a little bit step further with some paid coaching and mentorship, Corinne is really good when it comes to that, and she's had tons of experience. And then when as it pertains to myself as a financial coach, kind of looking at the entire picture to kind of help you figure out the best way to add this into all the other things you might already be doing, like whether it's paying off debt, trying to build your credit, you're increasing your cash flow, you're saving money, and you're figuring out where all this fits. So with that being said, again, thank you, Corinne, for being here. And if you would, just give us a little bit of a background real quick on just your journey into the crypto space and what you've been able to build, and then we could dive into the news.
Of course. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and it's always great to have conversations with you. And I know we always dive into some juicy stuff and really interesting stuff. So it's really awesome to be here with you. Um, yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when people ask me about where did you start with this whole Bitcoin and crypto space. And my first experience was back in 2017 where I saw somebody post on Facebook that Bitcoin had hit $2,000. And I was like, what's Bitcoin? And this was somebody that I really trusted, that I looked up to as somebody in the entrepreneurial and financial space. And I just started diving in on YouTube and I started searching around and trying to understand what it was. Long story short, unfortunately, I had a really bad experience. And I'm sure that a lot of people listening to this, maybe you've had not such a great experience, first experience with crypto as well, because it is something that is still in 2025 so new. And, only now we're starting to see proper regulation be put around crypto. And now it's starting to get a lot safer. But especially back in 2017, you didn't really know where to go and what to learn and who was legitimate, who wasn't. And so, unfortunately, I actually went down the wrong path. I ended up getting in a lot of crypto scams, and I ended up losing more money than probably anybody ever should. So I think that was like not my great experience. And I say it to people not to scare them, but to say also that it's okay. Mistakes happen. The beautiful thing is when you then, and this is where we fast forward then to 2020, when I got reintroduced to crypto, end of 2019, start of 2020, I got reintroduced to crypto. And this time, somebody that I saw that I looked up to, that I trusted in the financial space, this time I actually went to them and I was like, this time I need the proper education. This time I really need somebody to guide me in this crypto space. So since end of 2019, I've been all in on this space. I started then teaching myself. I actually started learning inside of an academy where I then later became an educator inside of that academy. Since then, I've shifted, and it's been really beautiful to have different YouTube collaborations, social media collaborations, in person collaborations, just teaching people about this space, how to trade it for those that are interested in day trading, leverage trading, which is a whole different realm in itself, to just understanding what these assets are. How do we get started in investing in it the correct way with the proper risk management, with understanding what the asset actually is that I'm investing in? One of my favorite famous quotes is by Warren Buffett, that you should only invest in what you know. And it's really important that you're constantly aware of the assets that you are investing in. So, shout out to you that's here listening to something like this and getting that education, because it shows you're somebody that actually wants to understand, hey, I'm investing in these assets. So I need to be up to date. I need to know what's going on, not just what the asset is, but as we're especially in a new asset that's adopting, that's growing, that the world is still trying to figure out where it fits in our world. It's really awesome that you're here and listening to this. So yeah, I love teaching. I love teaching this space. And I think it's because when I really take a step back and I look at even just like the macroeconomics of the world, I I realize that, what we know today as our financial systems, and really like our money. When we look at the US dollar, when we look at, I think I still have an accent. I think I'm still somewhat Australian. So when I
Yeah.
look at the Australian, I never know, because like my Aussie friends are like, you're sounding American. And then here they're like, oh, you're so exotic. Where are you from? Oh,
As Americans, I think we're simple and easy to please in a sense, where it's like as soon as we hear the a speck of a difference in accent, we're like, "Oh my god, so
where are
exotic,
you
so
from?
special." So
Whoa.
yeah, no, it's there. Your accent
Cool,
is there. It's
cool.
fully there.
I'm still Aussie. So, yeah, like I'm looking at the Australian dollar, and before you even get to the money, you take an even more of a step back and you just look at your day to day, maybe just your life. You look at your neighbors, your friends, your families, like lives, and you're like, everything is getting so expensive. Why is it that, our generations now in our 20s and 30s, it's such an achievement, even more than it was ever, to even be able to buy a home, to buy a condo, to be able to buy a house. Um, the statistics are crazy when we go and look at how unaffordable, with your regular uh, day-to-day job, your hardworking individuals, even jobs that pay very well, for you to be able to go and buy what should be one of our key things, just your home where you live in. Then you start looking at your groceries and you're like, okay, so things are getting really, really expensive. So that's where we go and look at our dollars, and we realize that there's a problem. The system is failing. Our dollar is losing value like crazy. Ever since especially 2020, we are seeing that our purchasing power is constantly decreasing. We're seeing that, um, oh, lost my train of thought because too many things going through my brain. So we're seeing that the US dollar is losing its purchasing power. Oh, and we're seeing that the US debt ceiling is increasing, or it's been hit and it's been surpassed more and more. We have more and more debt, and it's not just the US. You go and look at many other countries, and this is a global thing. So you get to this point where you're like, what's the solution? Where do we go to next? And this is where we have this beautiful thing, such as Bitcoin, that was created in 2008, which I think is really important to note when we're talking about this stuff, because that is the year that we had a massive financial crash. So, 2008, something was created as a potential solution. And since 2009, some people have chosen to embrace it. And now here we are, fast forward 2025 in the United States of America. No matter where you are in the world, you know it's a global and financial superpower. We have now, love him or hate him, but we do have now a crypto pro president that, and this time around, he's crypto pro, right? And I give him grace there as well because over time we learn and we understand things. And here we are now seeing 2025 being a revolutionary year where we're just starting to hear our not just our governments, but our large institutions, they are buying up Bitcoin. We are literally living and seeing right now this race to buy Bitcoin. And so it's really exciting to see where we've recognized that our old financial system is failing. TradFi is just not working anymore. So what do we have? We have something like Bitcoin. And now our governments, our financial institutions, our regulators are starting to embrace it and to adopt it. We're seeing news like Chase Bank starting to collaborate with Coinbase. We're seeing that now more and more banks are starting to accept um, your crypto wallets as part of the collateral or to go towards, you applying for your mortgage. We're starting to see more and more, even just real estate deals directly with Bitcoin and people being open to accepting Bitcoin directly for their houses. So, I kind of wanted to open it up there with that to say, it's we're now living in a stage where it's not even a is this the future? It's here and happening. And if we're seeing these large institutions and governments and three-letter, entities adopt and accept, where are we? What are we doing? And how much are we embracing it inside of our lives as well? So, before I dive into some more things, any thoughts that you have there or
Yeah.
specific questions?
So just to recap for the audience here, we've got Bitcoin establishing in 2008 as like a little bit of a history lesson there, and that's really what kicked off this entire crypto space. You get involved initially in 2017. Bitcoin's around 2,000 bucks. That's pretty awesome. But unfortunately, you had a terrible experience and lost money, and you looked away from it for a period of few years. And then around
Yeah.
end of 2019, going into 2020, you get re-engaged with another trusted individual that probably took a different approach than the first person that introduced you to it, and that allowed you to really get real education behind it. And from there, you went all in and you started learning about day trading, and then you got to a point where you felt comfortable, you start teaching it, you fell in love with it. So now fast forward to 2025, if you can share kind of what you're currently doing in the crypto space, and you drop some general information on a macro level, that we're in a place in time now where probably everyone knows about crypto to an extent. Like everyone has heard of Bitcoin at this point. It's a household name. It's part of political conversations. We're in an administration today, to your point, where you have a pro crypto president, and you can even say a pro crypto administration. Like the entire administration is embracing this to the extent of establishing the bridge where commercial banks recognize the asset now. Because I think there was a season, just go back 4 or 5 years, where it wasn't even recognized as an asset. I specifically remember opening an account, I think it was with PNC Bank, or it might have been my local credit union, Brightstar was one of them, where as I was establishing my wallets to send money to the wallet, and then the wallet would purchase Bitcoin. I was using MetaMask at the time, and I was being blocked. Like I was having difficulty just sending money to the proper exchange and the proper location to then purchase the Bitcoin or Ethereum at the time. Like I was legit having difficulties there. They were questioning,
Mhm.
what is this? Potential fraud, da da da. I'm just
Mhm.
like, that would turn away most retail buyers. If there's resistance
Yes.
just to buy, I can
Mm.
only imagine what the other side looks like, you know? And so there was that resistance that is
And
is
can I
there.
add there?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
add there? What's so crazy, and probably this is why I use this example of Chase Bank now connecting with Coinbase, and Chase is actually allowing people now to buy with their credit cards crypto. That's as of this year, 2025. My husband tried to buy Bitcoin in 2022 when it was back down to $16,000. He tried to buy it with his credit card, maybe even just with his Chase card, and they blocked him. And now here we are, fast forward, and they're like, oh, wait, yes, please buy Bitcoin, buy crypto. Now we want you in there. Why
Like
though?
what?
Because now we've gotten in first, as in we, the banks. Because let's remember, this is the digital gold rush.
Hmm.
We're literally running to get our hands on, and it's not just us, it's now the big guys too, trying to get their hands on that 21 million Bitcoin. How much can you get before it runs out? Because there's a cap, there's a max supply on Bitcoin, and to be able to change that max supply, we're heading more and more into territories of it being close to impossible for it to happen, right? But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting to add to what you were saying. So yes, there was so much resistance. There was so much resistance not long ago to get into crypto.
Right. And now it's like you could buy crypto from your Cash App,
Yeah.
like it's really accessible now and makes it even more of a conversation around the household, around the dinner table. Like when it comes to traditional finance, wait a second, we've got a retirement crisis going on in America, and people's 401ks are not performing, people's savings are not getting them the proper purchasing power that they need to retire on time. And a saving grace could very well be Bitcoin, as making it a certain allocation of the portfolio and figuring out how to process all this. And
Yes.
you mentioned another critical detail, 21 million Bitcoin. That's another like fact there to understand. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist in the entire world. Yet, if you were to add up the amount of billionaires globally and the amount of centimillionaires, like not even like just millionaires, but just look at centimillionaires or multimillionaires, I want to say that number is above 21 million. The amount of millionaires and billionaires globally, not just in America, globally, if we were to look that up and see how many of those wealthy, rich people there are in the world, not even including organization, institutional money, just look at individuals who are self-made multi millionaires or billionaire. It's more than 21 million. I'm almost certain of that. Even the wealthiest of the wealthiest people are fighting to get their hands on Bitcoin, and there's only 21 million of it. And it'll be fully mined by 2035. Is that right? Do you know?
Say that again. It just cut
When
out.
when when Bitcoin will be fully mined, all 21 million.
2000, it's it's 2,140 is what's estimated.
Okay.
Now, we do have to think about, and when you understand, the Bitcoin halving, and that's approximately every 4 years, in by probably like 2030, 2040, there's gonna be such minuscule amount of Bitcoin mined
I see.
every, not even every day, but every year, that we're really like, it's just, and that's how Bitcoin was created. It was created like this on purpose, so that over time, we're actually even shifting to now not even focusing per Bitcoin. I think that, and we're already seeing it, a lot of things will just be priced in sats, which is the satoshis, the parts of Bitcoin, to the eighth decimal. So by that time, and we're already seeing predictions, and I was just going to get up something I had written inside of my community about Bitcoin predictions, and realistic Bitcoin predictions.
Hmm.
Um,
And just so
where
everyone understands, where are we at right now recording this video? It's August 5th, 2025. What's the estimated price around Bitcoin right now?
So right now, Bitcoin's at 113,000 approximately.
Which is insane. If you look at 2017, it was around 2000 bucks. So I don't know what the percentage is on that, but we're talking multiple 10x overs in from 2017 to 2025. So that's what, just under a decade, right? That it's went from as low as 2000 all the way to over 100 plus $1,000. At this point, are we past some of the objections and arguments such as, well, this could go to zero. Well, this could be a pump and dump, or this could be a global conspiracy to strip away the people's wealth in a sense. Are those arguments put to rest at this point based on the
So
market cap, the price, and institutional organizations, corporations, banks now getting involved with this?
yeah, and I think that's such an awesome question and such a still day-to-day conversation, and even though we're sitting here talking about like governments and institutions are buying Bitcoin, you do still have people that you and even though people know about Bitcoin, they're still like, but it's a scam. But the FBI, CIA created it, and like you said, there's still a lot of different thoughts around it now. I actually heard my mentor saying this yesterday, and I thought it was such a great train of thought because, again, like a lot of people are still having these conversations. And the way that I look at it is take a step back and look at BlackRock, right? BlackRock is a massive institution. And how do they make money? Well, they make money when investors invest with them. BlackRock, just in this past year or so alone, has invested over $1 billion. Actually, so it would be more than a year. They invested over $1 billion just to get a Bitcoin ETF approved. So IBIT, which is the BlackRock's ETF, took so much money for them to invest and to create. When I see an institution that big taking an action like that, they're not in it for a quick pump and dump. Like they're in it for the long run. You see BlackRock doing this, you're like at least until 2030, 2032, this is happening. This is all systems go. You go and look at some of the the stats or how much Bitcoin BlackRock is buying daily, and when you see that they're playing so aggressive because they have more information than you and I do. They know that old system failing, TradFi not working anymore. We need new products, new systems, and new solutions to bring our investors results, because what makes BlackRock money? When investors invest with them. So when I see BlackRock doing something like this, it's like there's risk reward associated to everything. That this is a whole big prank by some kid, a very smart kid. I just don't know. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Do we need to know? Because of the coding of Bitcoin and the way that it's created, we really don't need to know. Um, so I just feel like we're past that point. The people and now larger institutions have adopted it so much that we've taken over. It could be a prank gone extremely wrong for that guy that created it, because now, we've accepted it. But I don't think that somebody would go and create something like this to then like put so much time and energy and effort into it to then have these institutions and governments like take over.
Yeah.
My other train of thought is so many thoughts keep going through my head that then I'm forgetting what I wanted to talk about next. Um, with BlackRock adopting it, no, it's gone. The train of thought was gone.
I have a thought to inject here on
Please do.
the notion of, do we need to know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? Your argument
Mm.
is No, I would even back that up further to say that when it comes to looking at Bitcoin, your average investor, the way you're taught to invest in a traditional sense, is you look at who the CEO is, who the owner is, who's the founder, where to get started. Then
Yeah.
it's how long has the company been in business? What are the fundamentals? What are the revenues? None of those are a consideration when it comes to Bitcoin because technically there is no founder for Bitcoin. This is like a miracle in the financial space. It's like the miracle of discovering gold. Nobody invented gold. Nobody invented silver. It is a blessing or a gift from God, the creator of the universe, in a sense, where it's like it's just there and it got discovered. So when it comes to Bitcoin, there is no staff, there's no employees. It's not a private company or a public company. It's not a it didn't have an initial IPO. It did not have a rags to riches story. There's no one person behind it where people fall in love with the personal brand of there is no personal brand of Bitcoin.
Right.
So it's like we literally have I still struggle with this. Like I have no measurement to compare this asset to because it's unlike any asset that has ever existed in the existence of mankind. There's just nothing like it at all. And we're very blessed to be in that generation where it got discovered, and we get to
Totally.
be the first generation that transforms the concept of wealth building, the concept of wealth storage, the concept of wealth
Mhm.
preservation, wealth multiplication. We get to literally live in a time where we get to rewrite all of these quote unquote blueprints. Not to say that the original ones are bad, it's just that we get to now add and maybe improve upon what already exists. So whenever I talk to clients, I'm like, you just simply cannot do what you would normally do when evaluating a stock or company or person
No.
or founder or a CEO. You literally do not have to worry about whether Bitcoin is open Monday through Friday and if you can get an
Mhm.
appointment with them. There is no customers, there is no staff, there's none of it.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind because I'm like, well, why would you buy that? Because there's no structure essentially to it. But then it's like, no, in fact, there's actually a tremendous amount of structure in that alone. The
Mhm.
fact that you don't have to worry about your CEO getting caught with the HR lady at the
Coldplay
concert.
concert.
Right. You don't have to worry about the
I
stock
know.
plummeting because of human error, in a sense.
Correct.
So,
Exactly. And that's why we're not even just going through a shift and change. Like we're literally going through, I think, the greatest and largest revolution that I don't even know when there was something this big. I think this is even bigger than the industrial revolution. And I really look at it like we had the industrial revolution that created so many shifts and changes to the world. We then had like a mini like digital revolution, and
with the
now we've
internet,
shifted
yeah,
with, yeah, we call it like Web 2 with the
right.
internet, with Apple,
Mhm.
Intel, those
Social,
sorts of
even social
Amazon,
media. I'd say
social.
bigger than social media. Like this is
Right.
yeah.
And now I'm calling it like this is the intelligence era. Like we're in an intelligence revolution because now we're looking at things like artificial intelligence and Web3, which involves Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, I really like the distinction between the two because Bitcoin, like you said, there's literally nothing like it. It is something so unique. And I get goosebumps. I'm literally getting goosebumps as I'm saying this because, like you said, like we just cannot evaluate Bitcoin in the exact same way that you would with a stock or company or other investment. Those things that you listed, I definitely do with altcoins. So every single other cryptocurrency, because every single other cryptocurrency, I want to know who the founders are. I want
Correct.
to
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
like I want to know all
There
that
is a
information.
staff, there is a
There,
team behind it. Like it's all of those things,
all
that
of
you.
those things. So crypto is that, but when it comes to Bitcoin, it's something so unique, and the best comparison is gold, but this is like gold that fits into our intelligence era.
Mhm.
Like, if we, and I don't want to go to, this might need to be another podcast, and I'll bring my husband on because he's the AI geek here. But even with artificial intelligence and like AI agents starting to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies themselves to
Mm.
transact and to trade and to build their own crypto portfolios. So we're literally in this intelligence era of that we've just never seen before. And gold is the best comparison to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is better for so many
I
reasons when
was
we
gonna
start going
say,
in.
would you even argue like, yes, Bitcoin is gold is a good comparison to Bitcoin, but it still doesn't do justice. Where
It doesn't.
it's an understatement to say that Bitcoin is like gold, and
Mhm.
it's a helpful for the newcomer to sort of like place it in their brain somewhere as like this
Yeah.
hedge kind of an asset. And I've been struggling lately with the question of, well, what is Bitcoin? What is it? And
Mhm.
I've gone through a couple of seasons in my journey because I came across Bitcoin when you got re-engaged with it. It was around 2019, 2020. I had a very close friend of mine just simply educate me. He didn't tell me to buy, he just started educating me on it.
Love.
And that was the best experience. I've never experienced a crypto scam, never had a bad experience because I was given a foundation that wasn't even written yet. Because I would still argue on a big scale, there is no written foundation yet for Bitcoin in terms of like how does one go about doing it. It's almost like majority of people are getting into it because the FOMO, fear of missing out, time is short, time everything's getting updated really fast, people are moving fast, and then you have all the hype influencers that are just
Mm.
like encouraging people to buy it. Not to say that that's not good, it just you get what you get, right? It comes with everything that's happening. And so this question of what is Bitcoin, my initial definition at first, when I first got involved into it, was digital gold. I was like, oh, this is digital gold. It's a way for me to store gold and eliminate the costs associated with storing gold. That was one definition I had. Then it evolved into Bitcoin is leverage. Bitcoin is leverage plus digital gold. Then it evolved to Bitcoin is a serious investment in my portfolio that can produce leverage, that can create cash flow through other vehicles, that could be potentially a tax-free asset because that was before regulation got involved in it. And then as of late, literally in just the last month or two, I watched a video by Michael Saylor and he says Bitcoin is capital. Want to get your insight on what when somebody
Mm.
asks you like what is Bitcoin, where do you start with them, and then what's your current definition of it? Because I'm sure it's evolved just like my experience with it.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over time. And, I think when people ask me what is Bitcoin, the first question I ask back or to have them reflect is, well, what is money?
Okay.
Right. So when you think about money, or at least the way that over time I've come to define money, I mean, obviously we have like certain criteria for what is money and what isn't money, but I just think about it as a form of energy. Like I go out, I provide a product, a service, and what do I receive back for me having given that energy? I receive back a form of money in or energy in the form of money, and it's just something that holds that energy until I'm ready to go and use that for then a product and service that I need, because we're not in the bartering era anymore. Instead, we have created this thing called money that I get to hold in between me giving energy a product or service, or me buying and giving energy, or yeah, giving back that energy to receive a product or service, right? And so when I start to think about money, well, then we could use anything as money. But then we go to, okay, but what's valuable money? What's money that's going to keep and store my energy in a way that it's not going to lose its purchasing power, that it's not going to get de-energized, and that I then can't go and use that for the same level of energy of when I received it. I hope this is making sense, right?
Yeah.
So when I think of Bitcoin and I look around like the US dollar, I mean, I live in the United States, I look at the US dollar and I see that I am losing energy when I am using the money of the US dollar. When I use the Australian dollar, I'm losing money even more. And that's typically for pretty much any other fiat right now. So then I look at Bitcoin and I can even compare it to gold. Gold can be a form of money. So when I look at the two, now I start to think about, okay, so I can get into the nitty gritty of, well, what is money and what money is going to be more valuable for me? Well, Bitcoin has a limited 21 million supply.
Hmm.
That's key because economics 101, right? Like supply demand. I want to understand that. Well, the demand is given to us or by us individuals. We choose as a population society, we choose what we give value to. So that's one of them. But Bitcoin has 21 million Bitcoin limited. Gold is not limited.
Mm.
Gold's not limited. Like they're thinking of checking Fort Knox because we don't actually know and it hasn't been audited in forever. China not long ago was like, surprise, we found like millions, billions, trillions of dollars worth of gold. Now Elon's talking about going to certain other planets, meteors, and finding more gold. So gold is not limited. So now I'm thinking about like money is energy. I need to store that money somewhere or that energy somewhere. What's the best money that I can store my energy in right now? Well, it's Bitcoin. It's the one that
Bitcoin's the
makes the
answer.
most sense to me. And I'm so glad that you're watching Michael Saylor. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, Michael Saylor is one of my greatest mentors. He doesn't know me, but like, I'm constantly like watching him
Yeah.
and I go to the Bitcoin conferences. And I was so happy when I heard him say at the Bitcoin conference 2024, he was like, Bitcoin is energy. And it's one of the
Mm.
greatest
Okay.
storage of wealth, storage of our energy that we've ever had. And for those that don't know who Michael Saylor is, um, please go look him up. Um, and he, with his company, formerly known as MicroStrategy, now it's known as Strategy, they are breaking records. They like the financial world, TradFi looks at what they're doing with buying up crazy amounts of Bitcoin, creating new financial products that are based on Bitcoin that are giving returns that the financial world is just like, this
But
is over leveraged, this is crazy.
over leveraged, too good to be true. It's a scam. And I get it because, I
Exactly.
mean, that's how we're taught to identify a
Yeah.
scam, how to identify when something is too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
Like, we're in that time right now. And unfortunately, the bad actors get to
Mm,
play a little more freely because we're seeing people dramatically increase their wealth in such a short time frame, leveraging bitcoin strategies, crypto strategies, and yet those same returns are what scammers are providing, and then people are getting duped, right? Just like you had that experience so many years ago, and it's still happening today, probably even at a bigger scale. So
it
there's,
is.
based on we've gone down a multitude of rabbit holes so far, but for the audience to really group together what's going on, there's a level of excitement that I think we need as individuals to control. I would say Like we need to control the temperature. Let's establish some facts that we can get rooted in. And so if we do a
Yes.
little recap on the board here, we understand that there's 21 million Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? It's capital, it's a form of energy in the form of money, it's a store of wealth. We've got a 2.2 plus trillion dollar market cap. On a macro global economical level, we have governments, administrations, and banks and institutions that are becoming or are pro Bitcoin. We have large institutions like BlackRock that have invested over $1 billion. These are facts. So it's like, okay, I'm able to like just take these facts, then I can go and move forward with. So we have over $1 billion invested to establish a Bitcoin ETF, or I think you said IBIT, right?
Yes.
And we've got Web3, and this is your personal opinion and projection that we're entering the intelligence era, which means a few things. You kind of alluded to new products, which brings new services, both tangible and intangible, obviously new problems and new threats and things like that. But what happens when you have threats and problems? Well, new solutions get presented.
Mhm.
And I would say new money
Yes.
or new assets. So literally out of thin air, we've created a whole new asset class, a whole new value of money that can do a lot of things to the traditional financial market. For example, I'm not sure if you paid attention or have been following this narrative, I should say, that I think has always been there, but up until this current administration, this guy named Howard Lutnick, and in an interview, it's like he was revealing he was revealing the whole playbook. But those who don't know wouldn't catch it. And I was listening really, really carefully, and I was like, he was being asked about the debt that we have, all the cuts that the government is making with Doge and things like that. And he was saying how the United States of America is worth over $500 trillion. And we have a way, and Bitcoin was a part of the conversation, to essentially inflate the debt away, like fully paying it off out of existence by leveraging these new services, these new solutions, these new assets, AI, Bitcoin, how it can, in a way, rebalance the books of an entire nation for the better. And then we enter into a wealth, we enter into the greatest wealth transfer. It's been being talked about for a
Mhm.
while now, but now we're actually entering the greatest wealth transfer ever that there ever will be. And if you're upset about the wealth gap today in America,
Get ready.
oh my goodness, get ready. You're
Oh,
going,
goosebumps.
yeah, we're going to see trillionaires get created in a much shorter period of time compared to how a multi-billionaire gets established. The amount of time
Yeah.
it took for the original billionaires in the industrial age compared to the billionaires of the internet phase and social media phase, and then now in the intelligence era phase, as you've coined it, mentioned it, the amount of billionaires and then billionaires in the internet era are riding that into trillionaire status. So the wealth
Oh,
gap
yeah.
is about to just explode and be even more. But I would argue there's people, everyday retail investors like us, that have an opportunity to explode in insane comparison, like at a smaller scale. Like if you're generating under 100,000 a year, getting exposed to this asset class and understanding how you can educate yourself and how you can be a part of the solution, of the services that may get provided, of the products that may get provided, and see your wealth explode potentially 100x in just a
Yep.
short period of time. That's where I'm at. Anything you wanted to add there on
Yeah.
what's been going on here? Any updates? And then what I said about Howard and the strategy of inflating the United States debt away. Just that concept alone, that threw me off. Even I'm still trying to process how exactly that would work. But I'm wondering if you have been looking at that story at all, or the narrative, I should say.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly where I heard the same narrative. And I think you like worded it really well, especially with the like, I'm still trying to get my head around exactly how that will work and look like. But my understanding is like, and I guess this is like a piece of news as well, how we did have just in July of 2025, like the Genius Act pass and be signed in. And that was really important because that was essentially like the regulation of the stable coins. And stable coins are a cryptocurrency that, is meant to be fully backed by the dollar. And I see that as a key bridge from the TradFi fiat system into crypto, but Bitcoin really being the key player with this so that we can shift we've had so far what we've had so far and shift it towards this intelligence era and this new financial era that we have. And I agree that I'm seeing it as like the great melt up. Like a lot of people are still talking about recession. They're still talking about when the interest rates potentially and probably at the moment will be finally cut in September. What happens after that? Well, they start printing more money, right? Not physically printing, but they press the button to have even more US dollar. And what happens? Like we don't go back on inflation. Inflation is there, it's set. We either continue or we maintain. There's no decreasing inflation when we've got percentages, but once the money's printed, it's there. And once again, we're losing that purchasing power. So it's like once that happens, and I don't want to get too techie, but when you go and look at the M2, which is currently how much money supply is there in the world, there is more than there has ever been. And where is all this money going to flow into? Well, my bet is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin specifically. Yes, other cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin is the one that we are using to get out of this mess that TradFi, that fiat currencies have put us into. And we can't even make sense of it because it's something we've never seen before. But as soon as we start to see it, the more that we're going to get reprogrammed, relearn, accept that it's possible. And it is going to be really possible to see trillionaires. It's going to be a normal day to day thing. And one thing that I got up while we were talking and I want to come back to because I think when we talk about these things, it's so far in the distance and it's stretching our like mental elastic band so much that it feels
Yes.
like this is
Hmm.
impossible. So
Yeah, I'm
maybe
pretty
just to
sure
take
people
a step
watching this right
back.
now, their brains have been stretched, and I applaud everyone. If you're still watching and you're engaged with us, like, you get a star, comment below. I'm hanging in there. My brain's stretched. We're with you. Continue.
Yes. My brain is stretched every day in this space. So um but maybe to like give like some solid like how really like possible is this, and especially now because we've talked about like the great melt up and institutions and governments doing all these plans and doing this great wealth transfer, but what do we do and what chance do we have? Because I think one of the most common things is people being like, and my students come in and they're like, Corinne, like I make an average wage and you're telling me to buy Bitcoin's $100,000, like shouldn't I buy other things? Like it's too late for me to get into Bitcoin. And this is where I tell them, I'm like, would you buy Bitcoin today if I told you that Bitcoin will reach $1 million, $10 million per Bitcoin? Is that a good return on investment for you? And then, of course, the questions come up like, oh, but would we ever see a million? Like, is that legit? Is that real? So I just want to read this post that I had put in my community one time to you all. And it's about how big can Bitcoin really, really get? Bitcoin isn't just competing against other cryptos, but it's competing for a share of all the store of value assets that we have in the world. So what are they? apart from Bitcoin. And what markets could Bitcoin come in and disrupt? Well, we have gold, which is approximately a 12, $13 trillion market right now. We have cars, fine art, collectibles. That's a $6 trillion market. We have the stock market, which is $115 trillion approximately. Real estate, that's $330 trillion. Bonds are 300 trillion, and fiat alone, before they turn on the money printers again, we have approximately 120 trillion. So that's $900 trillion that we have of store of value assets. Now, if Bitcoin went and captured just
Wow.
5% of this, just 5%, that means that Bitcoin's market cap would reach 200 trillion. 200 trillion divided by 21 million coins, you have $10 million per Bitcoin. That is math. It is realistic math. I encourage you to like sit and break that down and talk to your friend
And
ChatGPT.
1% would be 1 million. Is that right?
5%.
Because you said 5% was 10 million. I
I'm not
think
good with math off the top of my head, so
That's okay. That's okay. We can fact check it. I can have my math people in the comments
please
fact
do.
check us. But I would
Yeah.
the market cap today. So is that how you do the math with it? Where it's like you look at the market cap of the asset and then you divide that by 21 million to get the price.
Yeah. You technically divide it right now with how much Bitcoin is in
Ah,
circulation, because
right.
remember, we don't have all the 21 million just yet. So that's why it's just easier to do the calculation on like future predictions. Okay, $200 trillion market
Yeah.
cap, divide that by the 21 million.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
and I'll definitely have like a pop-up. My editor can do that for me to run the math on how it's priced today. So if it's at 113,000 today, and we look at the amount of Bitcoin in supply, which I want to say is 19 something million, 20 million.
I just got it up now. So circulating supply approximately right now is 19,900,000. The current circulating supply is approximately 19,902,325. So I can do the math here right now. So we currently have Bitcoin at $113,342. I'm sorry, I should be looking at the market cap. So the market cap is currently 2,200,557,116,105,223.
Big
You don't
number.
have to be math to be good at this space or to have
That's
success in
true.
this.
That's true. I'm an example of that.
Me too. Divided by the current circulating supply that I just said. There's
113,000. There you go.
yeah.
So the way Bitcoin rises is based on the market share that it either takes from what already exists or simply new dollars
Yep.
that get printed, because new dollars get printed every day. So if you have average American individual that's not investing in anything, because there's a whole lot of people who don't invest yet,
Yeah.
and they're just making money, spending, and then there's cash flow left over. Maybe they're taking that cash flow and paying off debt, going on trips, taking vacations, et cetera, et cetera. At some point in someone's life, they get the paradigm shift. They're like, oh my God, I need to think for the future. And the very first thing some people are doing, especially around our age, that mid 20s, early 30s age, is they're getting their financial education from people like you and I on YouTube. So if that young individual, that young male, that young female, that young couple that is working on building a family together, and they get introduced to personal finance by content creators like us, and the first asset they save money in, let's say, or invest in is Bitcoin, now you're talking new dollars being poured into it, and we're seeing far less sell-off in that same asset.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's necessarily exchanging a Bitcoin for any other asset. It's the
No.
reverse. People are exchanging, selling, going into debt to get money into the asset, and then they're holding because they recognize it as capital, as leverage to maybe borrow against, to go back and get the real estate and get a car and get a home and get even fund a business and do all these things. And the cash flow from that pays back the loan against it, the collateral. Meanwhile, the asset kept growing. So
Mhm.
you've got this offset and arbitrage that starts to occur when you set up a more comprehensive plan, more complicated plan like that. But just take all the people who are just buying it and holding it and just kind of sitting there wondering if this is going to go up, and they look
Mm.
at a video like this and they're like, well, 2017 is at $2,000, now it's 113,000. It's not crazy to think that, okay, if it was less than 10 years of growth to go from 2 to 113, take that same formula, go out 5 more years, it's not crazy to think that this thing doesn't go to 250,000 or more than that. It's not crazy to process it in that sense. So yeah, the fact
Mhm.
that you can buy the asset in decimals, I
Mhm.
think the minimum that you can buy is a dollar, if I'm not mistaken. A dollar and some
Um,
cents.
yeah, I think it's actually still less.
That's insane. So it's like even if you had $5 a week, 10 bucks a week, 100 bucks a month, that it's worth it. I myself, I have my wife taking $50 a month and just auto recurring buying Bitcoin. I said, let's just,
Yeah,
that's part
that's
of our savings. But she's already saving a few $1,000s a month. I'm saying, hey, until you're comfortable, let's just start with a small amount, 50 bucks, and then we'll build that confidence, over time, just to have that little bit of exposure to Bitcoin. I would even argue the person that does that today over the next 5 years, massive wealth. Like especially in comparison to the amount you put in, like the power of what $100 could look like 10 years from now in a Bitcoin is
yes,
quite insane to me. What about 40 years from now? Because we're talking, what about a generation? So
exactly.
it's kind of like the grandparent that gave their kid stock when it was X amount of, and it just massive explosion. Very
Yep.
similar to that. You get to be in that position today. You get to be the very first generation that bought
Mhm.
this asset, even if it was 10, 50, $100 of exposure. That's insane to me.
I looked it up. So Satoshi, right? One Satoshi, which is the smallest fraction of Bitcoin that you can get, is currently going for 0.0011.
Wow,
And we're
less than a
talking
penny.
smallest, yeah, less than a penny.
Wow.
A tenth of a penny, if my math is right. So that's how small. And when Bitcoin reaches $1 million, one Satoshi will be 1 cent. You guys can double check that math, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So you know, and it's so cool to think, okay, when it's 1 million, one Satoshi is 1 cent. And we've kind of like recreated our system. I
You've
also want to add,
recreated the money supply in a sense,
y- yeah, yeah,
especially if because there's the conspiracy, the theories, the thoughts that we're going to get off fiat currencies and have to migrate to something else because the fiat currency system doesn't have a successful country that kept their currency. You look at
yeah,
any other country that has failed, look at their currency. How
exactly.
that failed, then the government brings in some kind of form of socialism, communism that occurs, and then the country fails. Versus you look
Yeah,
at countries that have a track record of succeeding, there's an element of freedom, capitalism, a strong dollar, a strong currency, and then underlying assets that go with it. But even a country like that, such as the United States, we have strong assets, real estate, we have land, we have products, we have citizens, we have smart people, we have pretty functioning government for the most part. We have our problems there for sure.
who
But
doesn't?
but yeah, who doesn't? But what's really hurting us is our dollar, is our fiat currency, and
Yeah,
understanding that, yeah, we're not going to be able to operate like this forever.
no.
So what are we going to migrate to? What is that solution? And you
Mm.
you you can't but help but look at Bitcoin and take a deep dive in there. So anything else you want to add into this on just what people should be aware of now that we've given them facts, given them projections, potential projections? We're looking at $1 million, $10 million that Bitcoin can absolutely go to. That's actually super conservative. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think the final thing is just, no matter your age, I think it's really important that we start really creating a plan around what is coming and how we can play a part of that. Like, I know a lot of people are just kind of like buying Bitcoin. Awesome, amazing. That's already like the first step. But really getting a plan together, like before you spoke about retirement, and even like our retirement systems are not working anymore. So starting to expand your brain rubber band even more here, but starting to really think about like, hey, no matter my age, like, how can I use Bitcoin as a tool to go and retire myself and my family in 5, 10 years? There are calculators out there. This is something that I go through as well with like my students, of how can you start to plan around that? How can you really use and leverage this asset in an intelligent and risk managed way, because we don't want to overuse leverage, to really create financial security for myself and my family as this really big wealth transfer is happening? How am I positioning myself, and what am I doing with these newfound assets? I really think that Bitcoin has become the hurdle rate. If I compare everything to Bitcoin, if that investment doesn't outdo Bitcoin, then I'm going to be into Bitcoin. And it's happening now. The window, and I say this from non FOMO, but just from realistic, logical, what is happening right now, the window is tightening. We will see this move in ways that we've never seen other assets move before. And so it's really like, I say this out of so much love, like it's such a time to really like get locked in and really plan, know as best as you can what you're doing, source out information, education, communities, and people that will help you and support you. And just, yeah, it's the time to get really, really serious about it. It's happening fast.
Absolutely. And as an action step, those of you that are brand new, Corinne and I did a crypto workshop, an educational one, no selling in there. It's just pure education to help you get exposure, how to set yourself up properly, how to avoid scams, beware of the red flags that exist, because it's still the wild, wild west in many different ways. And there's new regulation coming along the way. And, looking back on a video like this 5 years from now, there'll probably be even more parameters and protection and new products, new solutions that come with future problems that will present itself. So we created a workshop together to really help really my audience, my clients that I work with that are trying to retire early, that are trying to become debt free. And then now that they've unlocked this cash flow, they're like, okay, where do I store this money and be able to leave it for my children, because I understand this money is losing value. So they understand that. They understand their money's losing value, and they need to put it in things where it doesn't lose value, goes up in value, and there's some, hedge, some protection against taxes and inflation. So with that, thank you again for your time. This is a wonderful, really just kind of like a master class here. I thought we were just going to give updates and news, but we went real, real deep into the weeds, and we'll do our best. Please comment below any specific rabbit hole we went down. You're like, hey, you didn't get to the end of that one. Please make a video specifically on that topic, and we'll come back and we'll make something like that to really get better at serving you in this crypto space. And with that, have a wonderful day. God bless, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you. Beautiful.